Yesterday, the UK was warned of military retaliation by Russia, so the King left Buckingham Palace and the Prime Minister left 10 Downing Street. Well, today, we've got a little more information about what's going on. Here from EuropeSays.com. Russia threatens UK military targets while Kremlin denies intent to attack NATO. So here we go. Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said on Thursday that Russia could strike British military targets inside and outside Ukraine in response to Ukrainian strikes on Russia using British missiles, particularly the Storm Shadow missiles. So Zakharova called on Britain to back off what she called London's hostile stance on Ukraine, which she said risked taking the conflict to an entirely new level. Indeed, it would. She has told the same Moscow news briefing earlier that Britain and France were playing with fire by supplying sensitive missile technology to Ukraine. Britain announced on Monday that it would allow Kiev access to classified technology to start its own production of Storm Shadow long-range cruise missiles, capable of carrying out strikes deep within Russia. France has already agreed to license the technology for the European missile. The Kremlin dismissed on Thursday U.S. media reports that Russia could attack a NATO member state and that the purpose of CIA Director John Ratcliffe's visit to Moscow this week had been to warn Moscow against such a move. Yes, there are all kinds of rumors about that, about why the CIA director went to Moscow all of a sudden with a C-17 and a full entourage with vehicles and everything else, right? Well, a lot of people were speculating that he went over there to warn Russia to not attack Europe, because there's been all kinds of rumors that Russia is going to attack Europe, particularly in the Baltics. And then he also went over there to warn them to back off of a new offensive against Ukraine. But that's all rumors. We can't confirm any of it, and Russia, for their part, is denying it. So here's what they officially said. The Russian Federation Kremlin spokesman, Dmitry Peskov, has publicly stated the following regarding yesterday's visit to Moscow by the U.S. CIA Director John Ratcliffe. Russian President Putin was briefed on the results of contact with the CIA Director Ratcliffe. It is premature to talk about the impact of the CIA Director's contacts with Russian intelligence agencies on resolving the crisis in Russia-U.S. relations. There were no contacts between Putin and the CIA Director Ratcliffe. There are currently no planned contacts between Russia's presidential administration and the U.S. So exactly what they discussed, we still don't know. There's a lot of speculation, but Russia's coming out and dismissing it. Which, of course, they would. They're not going to tell everybody what went on there, I'm sure. But nonetheless, a lot of speculation about that particular visit. Now, let's see. Asked to comment on the reports, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said a lot of this kind of scare story material is being published right now. Of course, it has nothing to do with reality and nothing to do with the intentions of the Russian Federation. Earlier on Thursday, the head of Russia's SVR Foreign Intelligence Service said he held a working level meeting with Ratcliffe and that they discussed unspecified sensitive matters within the remit of their respective intelligence agencies or services. There you go. That's all we know officially at this point. Anything else is speculation. But I'll keep my eyes on everything like I always do. But make no mistake, the UK has been put on notice. They have been put on notice that military targets, both inside Ukraine and outside Ukraine, are fair game now because of the way Great Britain has allowed Ukraine to use their Storm Shadow missiles to hit Russia and terrorize their citizens, as they said in another statement. So, but I don't know exactly what to make of the visit by the CIA director. We'll just have to wait and see how it all develops. Now, let's see here. There's a couple other things I want to cover from the website at don'tspeaknews.com. I put these up yesterday. Fake AI is being used to sustain outdated military equipment. The U.S. Air Force is using AI to keep its ancient Minuteman III ICBMs operational beyond 2050. And it's hard to believe that the newest ICBM that we have in America is 50 years old. That's the newest one. So I'll let you read this on your own for the most part, but it's a very good article, and I highly recommend you do read it. I'll put the link up like I always do. But like I said here in my comment, so the U.S. Air Force is turning over control of its nuclear ICBMs to a new AI control system, including giving it access for super sensitive classified data. So what could go wrong? Skynet, anyone? When the nuclear part of the war starts, will the U.S. even be able to respond? Question mark. Maybe not, at least not with its ICBMs. Prayed up and prepped up as always. In fact, in this article, they even talk about that because they're having so much trouble maintaining these old missiles, and there's no way to digitize it because they're too old for that, they actually thought about taking the missiles offline altogether. And instead of a nuclear triad to defend America, we would only have a duad, which would mean we'd have nuclear-capable aircraft and, of course, submarines that have nukes on them. But we would not have the big ICBMs available to us anymore. And the program to replace them, called the Sentinel, well, that's still running into cost overruns, like always, right? And constant delays, development delays. Real simple stuff, too, that the U.S. should be able to solve really quickly. But I don't think that's the plan. I think the powers that be all know that the demise of America, aka Mystery Babylon, is here, and they have no intention of updating these outdated military systems, except through AI, which then who knows what happens. That's the wild card, right? Who knows what happens once AI gets control of all these systems, all these missiles? Will they just launch? Hard to say. I don't know. None of us do. This is all new, unexplored territory. And then I put this up yesterday as well. Cyber attacks across water systems, a classic Israeli war crime. So we've had all these water systems around America, even especially small towns, being attacked. And of course, all the blame's being put on Iranian hackers, when in fact, Israel is famous for doing these types of hacks. And I don't believe for one second, as I stated here yesterday, that Iran is behind any of these cyber attacks on water systems. I believe it's Israel working with the permission of our own government that's doing this, as they're famous for it. Israel loves attacking an enemy's water facilities, and since it can't bomb ours like they do in Gaza and Lebanon, they're using hackers instead and putting the blame on Iran. They have to keep the orchestrated wars going, after all. And so this is an article from Helena Glass that was sent yesterday, and I highly recommend you read it, because she's right. In fact, in July 2020, Israel reported 2 attempted cyber attacks on its water systems, which were both thwarted with no damage and no issues. According to the Financial Times, an unnamed Israeli official told an unnamed Western official that the attacks most assuredly came from Iran, with absolutely zero evidence. Based on this non-evidence as provided by a bunch of anonymous officials, Israel then bombed the Shahid Raji port in Iran. Israel will literally do anything to discredit Iran, including bombing allies and blaming the attacks on Iran to incite violent retribution. So, yeah, there's all kinds of evidence here, guys, that Israel, they'll even hack themselves, which they did on on the Hamas attacks in October in 2023, October 7th. They allowed those attacks to happen. They allowed their own people and helped slaughter their own people with the Apache helicopters and I think it's called the Hannibal Directive, where in order to kill the terrorists, if they have to kill their own people along with the terrorists, well, then that's what they'll do. And that's what they did. So Israel pulls false flags even on their own people by allowing those attacks to happen, allowing their own people to be slaughtered by Hamas. So anyway, just wanted to bring those to your attention in case you weren't aware of the updates on the website. Speaking of the website, if you'd like to subscribe, there's a box at the bottom of every article, or you can click on this tab here, type in your email here, click on subscribe, and you're in. If you'd like to send me a story or news article or a comment, Don't Speak News or Proton Mail, that's how you get in touch with me. And then channel support, that's underneath this tab. All the ways to support us are there, including Venmo and Cash App here on the bottom. And Rumble, BitChute, and Telegram are over here. This is all the places to find us on the internet, including YouTube, for as long as we're still there. So there we go. That will be it for this particular episode. I will keep my eyes open and watching as always. God bless, take care. Johnny Storm, Don't Speak News.